With the release of the awesome new dogfighting and fleet battle game Star Wars Squadrons, many of you may have noticed the wreckage of a Venator-class Star Destroyer in the Zavian Abyss. The Zavian Abyss happens to be located in the expansion region of the galaxy, which is also where the infamous battles of Umbara and Mimban take place. So could this Republic cruiser wreckage be a leftover remnant from the tragic battle of Umbara or the bloody battle of Mimban? I'm going to break down both of the major Clone Wars battles that this massive wreckage may have come from and why it could connect to future series. Before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below for more awesome Star Wars lore content. About 60% of you aren't subscribed at the moment, so make sure to hit the big red button down below if you enjoy the video. During the campaign in Star Wars Squadrons, you join up with the elite Vanguard Squadron as Vanguard 5 and are joined by Mimbanese Vanguard Leader Kierah Koovah, human Grace Sienar, Trandoshan, Frisk and Mirialan, Keo Venzee. As part of Vanguard Squadron, one of your missions will take you to the extremely hazardous but beautiful Zavian Abyss in order to defend a New Republic convoy and reach the highly secretive Starhawk-class battleship. While in the Zavian Abyss, the Vanguard Squadron actually comes across a massive wreckage of a Clone Wars era Republic cruiser which has been horrifically damaged, most likely during the war. The vessel has probably been dead in space since the final days of the Clone Wars, all the way up to just past the Battle of Endor when Star Wars Squadrons takes place. So where exactly is this wreckage and which Clone Wars battle could it be from? Well, the one major hint we have at the potential battle that this Republic cruiser may have come from is the location of the Zavian Abyss within the galaxy. The Star Wars galaxy is divided up into 10 major regions, being the Deep Core, the Colonies, the Inner Rim, the Expansion region, the Mid Rim, the Outer Rim, the Unknown regions, the Western Reaches and Wild Space. The Zavian Abyss, where this Republic cruiser is located, is inside of the Expansion region part of the galaxy, which is to the east of the core worlds and the colonies. In canon, we know of two major battles that took place inside of the expansion region, which were the Battle of Umbara, taking place inside of the Ghost Nebula, and the Battle of Mimban, where the 224th Division of the Clone Army bravely took on the Separatist Alliance. The Battle of Umbara quickly escalated and turned into one of the bloodiest and most tragic battles of the war, with the sheer amount of lives lost on both sides, including the shocking betrayal of Jedi General Pong Krell, who had turned to the dark side and dedicated himself to Count Dooku despite having never met him. In order to gain the attention of his dark side idol, General Pong Krell committed his troops, which were members of Anakin Skywalker's 501st, to disgraceful and unsurvivable tactics, pushing many of them to turn against their general and his reckless, careless tactics. Pong Krell even went as far as placing his Republic forces against other Republic forces from the 212th, telling his clones that the Umbaran enemies were stealing clone armor and putting it on to disguise themselves. This horrific action eventually led to the capture of Pong Krell by the 501st and his eventual execution by Dogma, the one clone who remained loyal to his general despite all of his atrocious actions. With the Battle of Umbara taking place inside of the Ghost Nebula in the expansion region, it is certainly a great candidate to be the battle which the long-lost Venators from Star Wars Squadrons came from. At the beginning of the Battle of Umbara, while Jedi Commanders Ahsoka Tano and Barriss Offee are leading squads in orbit, we even see 3 Republic cruisers leading the assault on the shadowy planet. It's very possible that during the intense fighting on the surface of Umbara, one of the 3 Venator-class Star Destroyers was badly damaged and left to drift in space for decades after the bloody battle. Even assuming that Anakin took one cruiser back to Coruscant when he was called back at the beginning of the battle, and the 501st took another cruiser after the battle had concluded, that still leaves one ship remaining, which very likely could have been destroyed. Another indicator that this Venator-class Star Destroyer was from the Battle of Umbara is that the Zavian Abyss is clearly within a nebula. Because we haven't actually seen the Ghost Nebula on screen in the Clone Wars show, it's very possible that this is the Ghost Nebula, where the shadowy planet of Umbara is located. Further adding to this is the pale color of the gas clouds within the nebula, which may be where it gets its name. The only major nebula that we've seen pictured on screen in canon is the Khalida Nebula from the Shadow of the Malevolence Clone Wars episode, which has an incredibly similar appearance to the Zavian Abyss, which of course, if this theory is right, would be located inside of the Ghost Nebula. Now, we don't actually see the planet Umbara near to the Star Destroyer at all during the campaign, so it's possible that the ship was fatally damaged when trying to escape the orbit of Umbara and was left stranded deep inside of the Pale Abyss. We've seen things like this happen multiple times throughout the Clone Wars series and other material, so it's definitely a possibility. And let me know down below what you think about the Umbara theory, since there's probably some points I've missed and I always love to hear what you guys think. After that, the next possibility is that the wrecked Republic cruiser inside of the Zavian Abyss comes from the Battle of Mimban. The Battle of Mimban Mimban was a hellish, prolonged battle where Captain Rex and the 501st fought alongside a group of clone troopers called the Mud Jumpers, which you might remember were mentioned in the Clone Wars episode Rookies. The awesome thing is that the Mud Jumpers were part of the 224th Division of the Grand Army of the Republic, which were eventually transitioned into the 224th Imperial Armored Division, which you might remember from Solo, a Star Wars story. So, awesomely, the group Captain Rex fights alongside at the Battle of Mimban is the same division that Han Solo would eventually go on to join in the Imperial era. How awesome is that? During the harsh battle, Captain Rex fights alongside these Mudjumper clones, and also Representative Jar Jar Binks, who pulls out a bright blue lightsaber during the battle, ready to take part in the fighting, but clumsily lets it slip out of his hands, almost impaling himself on the luminous blade. Captain Rex quickly takes the Jedi weapon away from Representative Binks, but the two do go on to destroy many Separatist droid forces on the planet, bringing the Mimbanese people close to liberation. And if you want to check out the full story of the Battle of Mimban, make sure you click on the link in the description or the card on screen now, because it really is one of the top Clone Wars battle stories. Unfortunately, after the fall of the Republic, the planet was again placed under harsh, aggressive rule, this time by the Empire. Despite there not being a confirmed Republic cruiser at the Battle of Mimban in the comic where it takes place, it is almost certain that the Republic did send a few cruisers to bolster their forces, especially in such a key battle. On top of that, there were many LA-AT gunships used in the battle, which almost certainly would have had to arrive there on a Venator or other similar ship. The interesting thing about this battle is that it is now actually deeply connected to the story of Star Wars Squadrons and the Vanguard Squadron. The leader of the Vanguard Squadron, Kierah Koovah, is a member of the Mimbanese species from the planet Mimban, who happened to be present during the fierce battle on her planet. Kierah assisted the Mudjumper clones of the 224th during the battle, fighting against the rapid advances of the Separatist droid forces on her homeworld. Tragically, Kierah lost one of her arms in the battle, but eventually the clone brothers of the 224th helped her to escape and fixed her arm up. I'll play a short clip of her story now because it is really heartbreaking to hear.
We had calm blackouts like this right before the Empire invaded Mimban. Lost a lot of friends. But I learned to shoot a blaster. I remember the first time I was trapped behind enemy lines. It was the Battle of Mimban, the first year of the Clone Wars. The Separatists had dropped a battalion of B-2 droids on the Nan Flatlands, cutting us off from the 224th Clone Division. A thunderstorm was jamming communications, so I took a skyhopper to rendezvous with the 224, hoping to get some reinforcements. It didn't go well. I was halfway across the Flatlands when those droids shot me down. And believe me, you have never seen a finer crash landing. The only problem was, my arm got caught in some wreckage. Figured I'd rather live my life with one arm than sit around and wait for those droids to find me. Besides, you only need one hand to carry a blaster, right? I dragged myself out of those flatlands with only one arm and a seriously sour disposition. I guarantee those clone boys had never seen anything like me before, but they fixed me up. Then they helped us drive those blasted droids right off planet. If only I'd known that 3 years later, those clones would be replaced by stormtroopers.
As we heard there, Kierah and the clones were able to drive the droid forces completely off-world, but unfortunately after the Clone Wars came to an end with Order 66, the clones were replaced with stormtroopers, enforcing the rule of the Empire with an iron fist on her brothers and sisters on Mimban. Really sad story to hear. Because of this deep connection with Vanguard 1, the leader of the Vanguard Squadron, I also think there's a large possibility that one of the Venators used at the Battle of Mimban was actually left in tatters for years to eventually be discovered once again. Honestly, it would be really amazing if one of the cruisers, which once protected the homeworld of Kierah Koovah, was the same one she eventually comes across all of these years later. But let me know which theory you prefer. Do you think this Republic cruiser came from the Battle of Umbara or the Battle of Mimban? Or do you think it comes from a completely separate and unknown battle? Let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.